Diddy, also known as Puff Daddy, is one of those iconic figures whose reign on the scene has lasted from the 1990s all the way to today. Over the years, through the power and influence he built in music, film, and fashion, he created unforgettable moments and unique experiences for everyone who crossed paths with him. Some of those experiences were strange and scary, from putting a bounty on Tupac Shakur to using rappers for sexual purposes. Today, we're going to take a full look at this person's story, from the very beginning to now. The story starts back in the 1970s, when the people of Harlem, New York were living through some of the toughest times, facing poverty, racism, and a lack of safety. And in times like these, people will do whatever it takes to survive. One of those people was Melvin Combs. After his child was born, he started selling drugs to support his family. But early in that dangerous life, during one of his deals, Melvin was shot, the attackers trying to take all the drugs without paying a dime. The legacy Melvin left behind was his son, Sean John Combs. Growing up in a poor neighborhood, Sean managed to attend school there and soon became one of the smartest and most ambitious students in his class. His mother hid the truth about his father's death until he went to college. She told him that his father had died in a car accident, not wanting him to know the real story. Sean Combs' intelligence in school earned him a scholarship to Harvard University. According to his professors, Sean had a natural talent for leadership and project management. He was so sharp that he made a deal with a few of his neighbors who worked as taxi drivers, arranging to drive rich students back home after parties when they were drunk. This was Sean's first real source of income at the time, but he only received a small percentage of the money. Deep down, he still wanted a bigger opportunity to truly show his talent. In 1989, Sean met Heavy D, a rising rapper who had just joined Uptown Records. Impressed by Sean's incredible talent and energy, Heavy D told Andre Harrell, the founder of the label, about him. Soon after, Andre was convinced to bring Sean Combs on board as an intern at Uptown Records. Although Sean's mother didn't approve of him working at Uptown Records, wanting him to stay focused on college, Andre Harrell managed to convince her. He offered her $1,000 and promised to cover all travel expenses for Sean to come from New York to Washington twice a week. After 6 months of hard work and dedication, Andre offered Sean a full-time position as his assistant with a salary of $4,000, marking the real beginning of Sean Combs' career. But you might be wondering, wait, why would Andre Harrell bring a 20-year-old from New York all the way to Washington to work with him? Well, Andre saw something familiar in Sean's story, but because his own life wasn't so different. He was born in the Bronx, New York, and in his early years he was discovered by one of the biggest names in music, Clive Davis. Later in his career, however, Davis faced serious accusations of misconduct toward employees, which ultimately led to his departure from Arista Records. Andre Harrell was one of the last protégés of Clive Davis, the man who encouraged him to create Uptown Records. But questions still remain about how Andre rose to such a powerful position at a young age. Some people in the industry whispered about hidden deals and complicated office politics that shaped the label's future, a story filled with ambition, secrets, and the darker side of the music business. As time went on, rumors and controversy began to swirl around Uptown Records. Some stories from inside the company blurred the line between truth and speculation, part of the complex, secretive world of the music industry in the early 90s. Still, despite all the noise, Sean Combs rose through the ranks and officially began his new chapter as the vice president of Uptown Records. He brought on rising talent such as Notorious B.I.G. and Craig Mack, marking the beginning of Diddy's groundbreaking journey in the music industry. In 1994, when Diddy was preparing his first studio album, Ready to Die, the rest of the Uptown Records team wasn't happy with it. They felt the lyrics were too explicit and inappropriate, but Diddy saw it differently.
When MCA wanted me to not put out the Biggie Smalls album because they didn't like the subject matter, and they wanted me to tell him he's got to change his tone.
At just 23 years old, Sean Combs made a move that shocked the entire music industry. While serving as the vice president of one of America's biggest record labels, he decided to walk away and start his own. That's how Bad Boy Records was born, and he didn't come alone. He brought along the two artists he had originally signed to Uptown Records, Notorious B.I.G. and Craig Mack. That's when Sean Combs became known as Puff Daddy, a nickname his mother gave him because as a kid, whenever he got mad, he would puff up his face in anger. In the early days of Bad Boy Records, projects like Craig Mack's album and Biggie's Ready to Die hit the streets, two records that shook the entire music scene. With their success, Bad Boy Records moved its headquarters from Washington to Atlanta, and suddenly every young artist wanted to be part of the Bad Boy movement. One of them was a 13-year-old Usher Raymond, who joined Puffy's legendary training program known as Flavor Camp, where he stayed until he turned 14. Puff Daddy called his long private training sessions with his artists Flavor Camp. Around that time, rumors began to surface. Claims that Puff Daddy might have taken advantage of some of his young talents. In one interview, Kevin Hart, who was also one of Puffy's trainees, tried to change the subject.
When he was like 10 and I was a little bit older, his older brother, we used to fight over the frosted flakes. You know what I'm saying? Before pause was invented. You know what I'm saying? But it's my brother for real. We used to actually wrestle off of the frosted flakes because he used to always get up early. Now he's one of the richest stars in the world. And
yo, what the fuck did Puff just say? Nobody's gonna.
After all that, Puffy's natural talent started to shine even brighter. People began to see a new side of him. A few years had passed since the rise of Bad Boy Records, and the label was now dominating the charts. But with fame came tension. Money, power, and egos began to clash. After Craig Mack left the label, things started to heat up, and soon Puff Daddy, now known as Diddy, found himself at the center of a new battle, a fierce rivalry with Death Row Records. After Tupac Shakur, one of the most successful rappers from the East Coast, joined Death Row Records. At the time, Tupac and Biggie had a strong friendship, like brothers in the rap game. That's why Bad Boy Records reached out to Tupac, offering him a collaboration to drop a verse for one of Biggie's tracks. Tupac agreed, but asked for about $7,000 in return. In 1994, Tupac Shakur arrived in Manhattan to record his verse for a Bad Boy Records project. But as he approached the studio building, two masked men confronted him and opened fire. Tupac was shot multiple times and rushed to the hospital. After a successful surgery, he survived, but everything changed the moment he walked out of that hospital. From that day on, Tupac believed Bad Boy Records and those around Biggie were behind the attack. But Tupac didn't get much time to speak about the shooting. Around the same time, a woman filed charges against him, accusing him of assault in a relationship. The case hit him hard, adding fuel to the chaos already surrounding his name. Eventually, Tupac was sentenced to 8 months in prison. In February 1995, the Notorious B.I.G. released the track Who Shot Ya, a song widely seen as a diss aimed at Tupac Shakur. The tension between the East Coast and West Coast crews exploded soon after. Later that year, during the Music Awards ceremony, things reached a boiling point when Suge Knight took the stage and delivered a provocative speech.
I want to stay a star. Don't want to have to worry about the executive producer trying to be all in the videos, all on the record, dancing. Come to Death Row.
After Suge Knight's speech, Snoop Dogg took the stage, now standing as one of the biggest rap artists of that era. Following the shooting of Tupac, Snoop had no real competition, and the crowd saw him as the man who took gangsta rap to a whole new level. While Tupac was originally from New York and had moved to Los Angeles, Snoop was seen as the true voice of the West Coast, earning deep respect from the streets and the fans alike. On September 13th, during Jermaine Dupri's birthday celebration in Atlanta, the party was packed with hip-hop stars and major industry figures. Puff Daddy arrived with his friends and his well-known bodyguard, Wolf. Around 10 p.m., members of Death Row Records showed up, including Big Jake, one of their crew. After Puff greeted Jermaine, Big Jake stepped out to the parking lot to inform Suge Knight. Moments later, both groups confronted each other outside the nightclub entrance, and the tension quickly turned into a violent clash.
All of a sudden, somebody started shooting across the street, and I knew Mark was at the front of the gates.
Yeah, I'm at the front.
I know he was up there strapped. And I'm like, who the fuck is out there shooting across the street? And I can see the dude just busting, bop, 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 bop. And the
Big Jake was one of Suge Knight's childhood friends, his loyal protector and companion from the very beginning. A week after the Atlanta incident, Puff Daddy's bodyguard, Wolf, was arrested for allegedly shooting Big Jake. But after a year of investigation, Wolf was cleared of all charges and walked free. It marked the second major blow from Bad Boy to Death Row, deepening the rivalry that was already tearing hip-hop apart.